Welcome to Provocateurs, and today we are joined by the incredible Kirk Miller. Kirk Miller is an entrepreneur and runs one of the world leading and changing online health and fitness organizations for entrepreneurs, as well as having done a bit of modelling as well. We're definitely gonna go there.
I've snuck onto a few men's health, men's fitness covers, but I'm 40 now, so I think my modelling days
are over. Oh no,
possibly.
No, I'm going to put you to that.
I'm still not shy in taking my top off but that's purely to grab attention, to not for my own ego, but to help more people. It's more from a business standpoint rather than an insecure guy who just needed to be shredded to get attention.
Got you. Yes. We're going to go there. And you're also a public speaker, because we met at EMC, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm like you, Sarah.
I
like to talk.
Well, this is good, because we're here. So, Kirk, I'm going to read something that Men's Health said about you.
I probably can't even remember this.
Okay. Kirk Miller has been on the cover of Men's Fitness more times than any other man. And at the top of the fitness model game for more than a decade. And a reason his physique remains the envy of the industry and an inspiration to men everywhere is the constantly evolving approach he takes not only to training and eating, but to every aspect of his life. What claim to fame?
That was a very kind thing that the men's fitness editors said, for sure. I don't know if it still stands true. Full transparency, there are probably people who, can rival me on that now. But yeah, a couple of years ago, that was definitely true. I think globally, I'd had more covers on men's fitness. I had a couple with men's health. I think I'm still the last ever men's health cover model winner. Because you used to do a competition, Sarah, and I'm sure we'll unpack a lot of things around that in a second. But yeah, I think I was very lucky that I was the last guy that made the men's health cover and also got a feature. Whereas I think the year or two after that, where they still did that competition, the guy didn't even get on the cover. So I'm very grateful to men's health, to men's fitness. And that statement is definitely true. I definitely think that one of the things that separates my sort of mindset, my philosophy, the way I coach, the way I talk, the way I lead, and just my whole perspective now on health is because I've evolved. Whether right now, as we're shooting this podcast, of course, I'm in Dubai, moved from London a couple of years ago. Prior to that, I was Coventry Council Estate kid. But irrelevant of what city I am in, whatever country I'm in, I've evolved my methods, the way I train, the way I eat, the way I manage me, to still stay in shape, whatever the circumstances, whatever the challenges. And I think there's something to be said for that, because a lot of people are very fixed on their one way of doing things, especially when it comes to health and fitness. And that's why so many people in their late 30s, 40s and 50s struggle, because they don't evolve. And they don't emotionally evolve from being just as considerate for how they want to feel as to how they look. And I know we spoke about this lots of times, haven't we? So yeah, totally different perspective now on health and fitness to what it was in my 20s.
So let's go to Men's Health, right?
Yeah.
When were you first featured in Men's Health? How did that come about?
Men's Health was a magazine. I'm sure a lot of men will relate to this. That I used to buy every single month, and you'd see the everyday person on the front cover, ripped, pair of jeans, but a very relatable person, doing the normal thing. And I would always look at the cover and bore my friends to death, or people in the gym, and go, I've got a better body than that guy. Oh God, if he could do it, I could do it. But it was the limit and belief mindset of living in Coventry, having had an incredibly harsh knockback, following my first dream of wanting to be a professional footballer with Coventry. That hit me for 6, and I'm sure you'll dig deep into that too. But Men's Health, although it was a magazine that in my heart, I've got the body, I didn't have the mindset for a number of years to truly believe that I could be on the front cover. Now, I know it's only surface level stuff, that being on the front cover of Men's Health, it's just a magazine on a in a shop. But for me, it represented a lot more than that. From a confidence perspective, like for years, I picked the magazine and I think, okay, I know I've got the body, but I didn't have the belief. And if I'm really honest, Sarah, even when I won the men's health Kirk Miller competition in 2010, even though I might have looked like I had enormous amounts of confidence, internally, the confidence was nowhere near what it was externally. So I think that winning that in 2010 was a mixture of luck, of course, consistency with years of training and all that type of stuff. But the other 6 people who made that final that day, they were all in shape. Many of them had bigger muscles than me. Maybe that was one of the pluses of me getting that cover was, I had a more attainable look. Maybe I think the guy liked my face a little bit more, whatever it is. But it was a mixture of luck, and I owe my friend Sonia who pushed me into doing the competition. Like honestly, like she not only wrote the 250-word bio, which you needed to do to enter the competition, she also submitted pictures for me to actually enter, and obviously luckily then win the competition. So if it wasn't for her, I would never have even written the 250-word bio that you had to do about yourself. I wouldn't have submitted the pictures. So my whole life could have been a totally different trajectory, because obviously at that time I was in a plumbing job that I didn't like. With the greatest respect to plumbers, I've said this many times before, I'm not on this earth, I wasn't on this earth to be a plumber, but that's my path I went into after getting let go by Coventry City at the age of 20. And even though I won it in 2010, the men's health story actually started the year before, because in 2009, Sonia, again, after me boring her to death and my friends, actually pushed me to enter the 2009 competition. She did the bio again, did the pictures, and actually made the final in 2009 as well. I mean, nobody can probably say that, but I made the final in 2009, and I can still remember to this day how I fucked that up, right? Apologies for the language, but I'm very straight talking. And because, first of all, thank you for having me on this podcast, but I don't want to paint this perception that I am someone who is got the body, got the business, got the life without pain and immense curveballs in my life. So in 2009, picture the scene, I am fitting a toilet in a bathroom in the job that I didn't like. I miss a phone call because I couldn't get up in time to fit in this toilet. Anyway, I have a voice note from Claire Matthews, still remember her name, still remember the tonality of her voice. Hey Kurt, this is Claire Matthews from Men's Health. Hey Kurt, this is Claire Matthews from Men's Health. We're delighted to tell you you've made the Men's Health final. Can you call us back? I did call her back for a week, which is madness, right? We've joked about this, our party days at Swanky's, which will impact Shaw. There must have been thousands of guys that would dream for that phone call, with a chance of going to be on the brink of Men's Health, right? And I was that lost and despondent in my life at that point, because I wasn't living with true purpose. I wasn't telling myself the truth of certain things, that I was arrogant enough to think they'll call me back. I called them back a week later. Claire Matthews says, Kirk, you did make the Men's Health final, but unfortunately we've had to give you place to someone else, because we only give people 10, 12 days notice. Because what they didn't want, what Men's Health never wanted, it still probably sounds true now, is a bodybuilder who has had 4 months of prep work to get dialed in for a shoot. They just wanted a person who lived and breathed it, and that was what they did. So you can imagine, Sarah, and anyone listening, if you've ever been in a job that you didn't like, it's soul destroying, in my opinion. It can really hurt you. And you get this one beacon of hope that you can not necessarily get a new job from a Men's Health cover, but at least you've got some enthusiasm for a better future, whatever that looked like. And you're getting told, you know, you've not made that final. You've basically messed it up. They've given it to someone else. Oh, that hit me for 6. I'm like, oh my Lord. And then I'm at that point, Sarah, honestly, I'm not diversing here, but I think it's really important for people to understand, because you've just bigging up men's health, and men's fitness has said nice things about record covers and evolving life and all this stuff. At that age, 25, 26, it was anything but that. So after I missed that phone call, after I called Claire back, still cracked on with my training. And this relates to your story a little bit. Still trained, still ate really well, because for me at that point, between 2009 and 2010, the only few areas of life I felt I had true control and true certainty and true predictability that if I did X, I would achieve Y outcome, right? As in, if I trained well, if I moved well, if I ate good food, that I'd look the part, because that gave me the confidence at that point, because I certainly wasn't confident by what I was doing, how I was living, and the relationships I had. Like, that was the only thing that gave me certainty. And so I just kept cracking on, then training for another year. And then in 2010, that's when Sonia again said, Kirk, I think you should enter it again. Just got a funny feeling that, and very grateful to her and the people around me who believed in me probably more than I did. And obviously the rest is history, really. I was lucky enough to win that. But what I would say during that period, from 2009 to 2010, the one thing I had started dipping my toe in was personal development. Read The Secret. Even our great friend Amp Loafer. Yeah. Right. We messaged back and forth on Instagram the other day about this. Even though we joked about swankies, which is this crazy party me and Sarah and our old friends.
We're going to do that, don't we?
Amp Loafer, I remember being on a party hosting job or some stupid shit, trying to make some extra money. Anyway, but I remember he during that period he get me to listen to people like Wayne Dyer and Jim Rohn, and at first you think, what's all this about? It's a load of nonsense. But I suppose the point I'm trying to make to anyone listening is I started to be more in tune with how I feel, my beliefs, and stop blaming circumstance for why my life wasn't going in a certain way. I was caught in a very negative rut, Sarah, after I got let go by Coventry. I'm focusing on what I didn't want instead of focusing on what I actually wanted. So I would say that even though training and food didn't really change too much from 2009 2010, my view on the world, and more importantly on myself, changed dramatically, because I started focusing more on the words that come out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Are they positive? Are they uplifting? Are they moving more towards things that I maybe want, as opposed to living in the past? And I really believe that by the time the 2010 competition come around, I remember the actual shoot day itself, where I picture the scene, you know, there was seven guys, and there was actually 4 women, I think, because it was the first ever year as well. They actually did a cover, not just with a man, but a male and a female. And I lucky I was on both. So it was crazy how that happened. But I said to myself on that day, you know, when I went down to London and the 7 of us all taking it turns, getting pumped up and doing our shoots, whether I win or I don't win, I'm going to be 100% myself. Literally. Because not only did you have to do a shoot if you were trying to be on the front cover and win that competition, then you also had to do like a video interview, a written interview. Yeah. And in my opinion, there were so many of the other finalists who completely bullshitted about how they were actually living and what they were doing. And I just thought, life wasn't doing me any favors by not telling myself the truth and not just being 100% authentically me at that given time. So yes, I did the shoot, and I sort of knew, if I'm really honest, Sarah, when I went into the room when it was my turn to shoot, because there'd been maybe 5 guys before me, I could just tell by the way the editor looked at me. I just thought, this is the universe. This is meant to happen. but I also think it was my interview. I'm so transparent, like when they're asking you, so outside the gym, what do you do? And this is probably during that time where we first connected at Swankies, and I was partying like a madman every single weekend. I just want to tell them the truth. I went, when I train, I train. When I eat well, I eat well. But when I party, I party, and I'm really good at it. Do you know what I mean? And when I want to eat a takeaway, I'll go in, and of course it was the wrong way to stay in shape back then from a sustainability perspective, but the message I'm trying to hammer home is be totally real. And I believe the universe tends to bring opportunities and things to you when you are so wholeheartedly you. The right people, the right opportunities, even the right challenges will present themselves to you exactly the right time if you are being 100% you. And I think that made a massive difference to winning that. And after winning that, Sarah, it wasn't about being on the front cover the next day, which was great, makes your mum proud and your friends, all that stuff. It was a sign to me that I needed to take responsibility for my future and really take this opportunity to do in my heart what I probably should have done when I got let go by Coventry at 20, and that is create a business, or at least work in an industry where I'm helping people, lifting people, leading people, and generally helping someone look, feel, and perform better and live with more confidence, which personal training and now online coaching does.
So there is so much we're going to go into there. So many lingers. But the one I want to ask you is...
Yeah, because I haven't told you about the night I actually won the men's health. So that was...
Do you want to go there now? Go on.
I don't know if you got that question, but again, this is full transparency.
Yeah.
I've said this on my own podcast, but again, I think this will help all listeners really remove any perception that my life is perfect. And because I've had a six-pack for 30 years, and I tell people about that, by the way, as a marketing tool.
It's going to go there.
But the night I won the men's health competition, when I'm in London, we went to Gaucho's, the London restaurant. That's when they announced the winner. And then we went to a club afterwards. And because I was in the party scene, I had a couple of friends in London who hooked us up with a table and all this stuff, right? Two of my friends from Coventry travelled down that night because they were being very presumptuous that I would win that men's health competition. And up to that point in my life, full transparency, I would say nearly every weekend I was drinking, which was the majority. I was doing cocaine, like with that. It was just a habit that 3 weeks after I got released by Coventry, I'm in the toilet, someone offers me cocaine, I take it, because you hurt your lowest ebb. I've had this identity of being a footballer just wiped away, 20 years, just boom, gone overnight. So I would say from 3 weeks after me getting released by Coventry, I would say most weekends that I was drinking, even up to that men's health period, I was doing drugs and drinking most weekend. And on that night of the competition, win that competition, I remember saying to myself before Sarah, there's one night, don't do it. It's this. Do you know what I mean? You literally have got a life-changing opportunity, should you win. And I remember having about 3 or 4 drinks because it was so habitual at that point. And you still, even though you've just won a competition, still so much pain and lack of control in other aspects of your life. I remember after about 3 or 4 drinks, I said to my friend, you got some, went in the toilet, blah, 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 did it. And still to this day, when I come out the toilet, the only other person in the toilet was the men's health editor at the time. And it was just me and him. And I still to this day don't know if he knew what I was doing or not, because I wasn't in the toilet to go to the toilet. And, if it had been in there, you could hear stuff. And so I don't even think I've ever said it that boldly or honestly, but yeah, you're in a club, you've just won this competition, you're on the magazine plastered across the country the whole next day, so many messages, help your socials, all that type of stuff. And that moment, which was like a pinnacle moment in my life, doing something that was so destructive at the same time, which is, you look back and it's madness really, but thankfully.
How did you get out of that?
I'd love to say that after that evening that I never did it again, that was a lie, that'd be a lie. I would just say that one of the catalysts for shifting your identity, certainly trying to stop taking drugs every weekend, which I was doing, gradually over the years drinking a bit less. It was just obviously having a purpose then. You know, I basically quit my job, my plumbing job, to go embark on a career in a personal training. It wasn't overnight like that. It was an over 9-month period. I retrained as a personal trainer in the times I had breaks, you know, in my plumbing job. So I'd be studying on my breaks after work. I just thought, how quickly can I get my personal training qualification? Was still living for the weekend to some degree. But I would just say, just to make sure, you know, that this, I don't want to consume the whole episode talking about that period for you. But I would say year to year, things just got better as a result of having purpose, liking what I was doing, working on myself a bit more, not just physically, but emotionally, and filling my time up with more positive habits that were helping people and contributing to people, as opposed to doing something, let's not sugarcoat it, when you are doing something for 40, 50, 60, 70 hours, basically your job, and you don't like it, and it's not meeting your needs, you're going to find a way to meet your needs. And my way of meeting my needs, because I wasn't happy with what I did, who I was, and my relationships I had, was the reason I had these destructive behavior patterns. But as you've shifted that emphasis from loving what you do over years, of course, then messing around with drugs just isn't part of the picture. But I really believe that whether you are someone who is taking drugs or takes drugs, or you drink a lot, or you did drink a lot, I think a large part of that is being happy with purpose is so important.
I love what you said there about it's gradual. You know, there's so many times we think that we've got to have these overnight transformations, or, you know, with the work that you do with clients, you don't expect someone to completely change and maintain shape and lifestyle in a month or a day and maintain that. It's habitual and it's gradual. And I love what you said there. And I'm going to, as I said, dive into lots of what you shared there. The one question I want to ask you right now is herbs, right? So we met at EMC.
Yeah.
You were talking a lot about being 40-year-old and still having abs there. Yeah. Seen lots of stuff on your Instagram about there. Yeah. How important do you think it is for a man to have abs? Yeah. Why? And what about the dad bod? Isn't the dad bod in? What do you think of the dad bod?
I think having a six-pack or not, it's only as important as the meaning behind it. Right. So, yes, of course, I've highlighted that I've had a six-pack for a long time, right? But my value on why a six-pack is important, or being in shape, forget the six-pack for saying, like, actually being in shape, like having a lean body is important. The value on that has changed immensely. So, if I think about when I first had a consistent six-pack, you know, in your teens and your 20s, that was all riddled with insecurity. That was purely because I believed I needed to be lean and have six-pack to attract girls and relationships, all this type of stuff. Now, even though I don't train for a six-pack, I keep this as a result of the discipline of the habits that create that. So it happens by default. But very, very simply put, and I believe a lot of 20-year-olds, people in their 20s can resonate with this, when you're younger, all you care about is how you look, right? Especially when you first go to the gym, because you're so insecure, it's probably a lack of confidence. But now, the value on staying in shape isn't just for me; it's the people who invest in me. And I think if you're a coach, which I am, it's so important to lead by example, by how you live, by how you speak, how you train, how you eat. Doesn't mean being perfect, 'cause I'm certainly not still, but I think just going back to what you just said there about dad bod, abs, if someone's really, really happy with a dad bod and being overweight, great. I would argue if you truly are that.
Well, I remember in a conversation we had last month, you said something very bold. I told you I was going to bring it up.
Yeah.
You said to me, if you're an entrepreneur in the next few years and you're not in shape, you're going to become irrelevant.
I can't remember saying those exact words, but something like that for sure. No, I do believe standards rise in every industry. In football, if you look at what Ronaldo's doing with his body, the standard of footballers' physiques has gone up because there's always someone who shifts the bar. And I just think that the way entrepreneurship's going in business, I definitely think there is way more value on health and energy and how people are living than that there was years ago, for sure. So I wouldn't say people are becoming irrelevant, but I just think that if there are two people in the same industry and they both have a great service, and you've got one founder who is in shape, rocks up in shape, carries a different aura around them, and you've got someone who is overweight, all right, he might have a great personality to be able to make up for that. I get that. But I just think that if it says a lot about someone's character, trust, and discipline when no one else is watching them, if someone's in shape, in my opinion. And I think, look, we're all trying to, as business owners, right? You know how hard it is to try and fit everything in and make time for personal stuff and business and team and clients, all these different stuff. If you're in shape, you generally have more energy. And if you have more energy, you get more done in less time. So I know there might be some of my clients listening back to this, and they would know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's probably one of the reasons some of my clientele who are overweight have probably joined us, because I believe at some point in your business journey or your relationships as you build your business, something will happen that will scare you, or you'll lose something. You might lose a deal, or you just might not. You might have something that's not part of the script, and that's related to you not looking after yourself. Whether it's looking after your energy, just being reactive with your behaviour. I think at some point, and I've had this error, something will happen which will cost someone something emotionally, financially, physically, or a relationship they care about with a client. And that I should look after my health, I should eat healthier, I should move, will become a must do. And what I'm trying to sort of preach, I suppose, as a message, don't wait for that thing where it's irreversible. Because I've had some horrific cases, Sarah, in all my coaching career. You imagine the amount of people I've coached, and people that they care about in their lives, so the ripple effect of people's partners or their team. And so many people have died earlier than what they should have done. Yeah. So many people have had health issues that could have been easily prevented. So,
and so because there's two things there. I think there's the health, and then there's the way something looks.
Yep.
Is there not a pressure on men? Let's talk about men, because we're talking about men's fitness, and also we're talking about the abs, which I think is maybe more what the majority of men may arguably strive for.
Depends on the age.
Okay. Yeah. So is that not a pressure that we can, that by promoting? Do you ever kind of question yourself? Am I putting pressure on this market to?
I believe that message would only be received as pressure if someone knew in their heart they were capable of becoming more in terms of their health and body. Like if someone is totally, I actually had this on Facebook the other day, by the way. If someone is totally confident in their own skin, they're happy with how they look, how they feel, and their life, then my message should not put pressure on that person. If they're content. If they are genuinely content with who they are, how they see themselves, and their perception of how others see them, why should that bother them? And I believe if any of my message about being leaner, healthier, or taking care of yourself triggers you, it's probably a cue you should act on it.
Great.
And that might ruffle a few feathers, but if someone said something to me, even to do with business, say for example, I've got a business mentor, and say Phil might have put a post out or might have said something to me, if it's bothered me or triggered me, it's probably a cue that I need to up my game in that area. But if I knew I was actually following through in that given area relate to that subject, or I was happy in that thing he was speaking about, then I wouldn't care. So I think it's, honestly, I think the pressure to eat better, train better, and be healthier is only going to be felt by someone who probably knows they need to eat better, train better, and be healthier. So
if you're saying always watch those internal cues, if someone is triggered by something that you're saying or finds that a little bit disruptive, watch those internal cues, because what are they telling you?
Yeah, your emotions are your biggest feedback. Like your emotions are talking to you. Like come on, on a week-to-week basis here, every day there might be something that doesn't quite feel the way I wanted to. Usually it's because I have an expectation of what I wanted, how my life should be. And because maybe that expectation hasn't been met, or that area of life isn't actually the way it is, that creates emotional friction.
Great. So rather than running from that, it's literally about leaning in.
Yeah, what is it teaching you?
Because actually when you go through that, because I always find, I don't know if you find this, but the moment you've tried to bypass that thing, it will come back again.
Yeah.
It'll come back in a different way. If you try and avoid that and move away, I feel like that I'm going to move away. Yeah. You'll get the lesson harder.
It will pass. It will pass. Absolutely. And just as you just said, I'm not going to say I create this quote, because I certainly didn't, but a lesson will keep repeating itself until you do something different. Absolutely.
Yeah. And go through that.
100%. The emotions, they're talking to you all the time, but they're usually a feedback of what you should do and how you should live. Or what do you need to change something? Do you need to change something about your behavior, your environment? Do you need to be connected to someone? Like it could be anything, but anything I say, personal subject, I'm just tell the truth. I tell the truth. Yeah, I know my intentions, if I'm ever posting something, is to genuinely in the bottom of my heart try and help someone become a better person. So I said I didn't build a better body, even though that term comes out, of course. A lot of the time when you're marketing stuff, you're marketing what people think they want, and you give them what they actually need. Like, if I look at the clientele we work with, Sarah, your entrepreneurs, your business owners, some of them are immensely successful people. I could probably count on one hand how many of them say on a call, I want abs. Of course, they don't turn it down when it happens, right? But deep down, they want to be healthy and happy.
Right.
They want to be healthy, happy, and in control of things they currently don't have control with. And for most people, if you're out of shape, you can't control your emotions, which influence your decisions. You probably don't have an environment which is complementary of the health and body you want. And you probably, if it's not a belief issue, it's not an environment issue, it's probably a skill issue. But if you genuinely want to look a certain way and feel better about your health, it's probably because you're not training as optimally as what you want or as effectively as what you want. Same with food. You've even never been shown a simplified way of how to eat better. Same with sleep. Basically, man needs to call up core drivers. So, yeah.
So, on the abs theme and the swankies theme, let's talk about swankies.
Yep.
What is swankies, Kirk?
So, swankies, these parties, and anyone listen to this, I encourage you to go on YouTube.
Obviously, not on YouTube.
Go on YouTube, right? Because if you're like me, you're a visual person, this probably won't hit home what swankies is all about until you actually watch some of these videos. Yeah, these videos are tremendous. Even, I remember telling Phil Graham, swankies parties, and I remember around his house, I said, mate, this is what swankies was about. And he put a video on YouTube, and he was just like blown away, like, I can't believe there's parties like that. So basically these parties were on a Sunday evening, weren't they? Either in Leeds or Manchester or London, put together by the Dynamite hosts. What a name, by the way. Amp Flofer and a load of boys who were fantastic.
Storm model.
They were just good-looking bastards. Let's not sugarcoat it. And they create this party, which was sort of invite-only. And this sounds fucking ruthless, but basically, if you weren't in shape, you probably weren't going to get an invite or pass your application to get a ticket.
Invite only.
Yeah. And every woman that rocked up was either a model or just look great in lingerie, underwear. And then all the guys were pretty much in great shape. It was great energy. They were great parties. But copious amounts of drink, drugs. Like, obviously the whole room deep down was riddled with insecurity because it was all external of why you needed to look a certain way. And as, like, you know, I've just said to Sarah, like, I don't look too different from how I did back then, but the reason for looking this way is a lot different to how it was back then.
Yeah. And that's a great lesson, because you can get something that externally looks a certain way, at the internal of that process, or where that thing's actually at, is in disarray. Right? So we met at Swanky. So when we saw each other, what was it? It must have been about 6 months ago now. We probably hadn't seen each other for about 15 years. So what were these parties like in shaping, what did you do to get in that shape? And what were they like in shaping who you are now? How do they actually produce good?
Great question. So I literally remember my first Swanky's party. And I actually think this one is on YouTube, but thankfully and hopefully I didn't make the cut to the video, right? I don't know how, because my introduction to...
Brand, take it off.
Because my introduction to Swanky's actually... I think one of my introductions to Swanky's was probably go down there with the very best introduction. So we joked about this. So these party Swanky's have been going on for a couple of years. And up to that period, if I was going on a night out, you got your tight t-shirts back in the day, the you know, your jeans, whatever. That was about as out there I would be with my attire. And we were told about this Swanky's party by some friends. It was all word of mouth, wasn't it, I think? And the first one I went to was called a porno party. That was the theme.
That one.
They had a different they had a different theme. So I remember watching these videos with my friends before we actually went to this party, and you're thinking, oh my God, look at the women. Like, look at the women. This is unbelievable. It's like you're single, you know. But all the guys were in shape. So it was like literally right. I'll show these. Like, I'll show you. Right? And I turn up in jeans, a white vest, and a wig. Right? A wig. Thinking I look like a 80s porn star or whatever. And I turn up to the party, and all the guys have already got their tops off. Loads of women half naked. And all of a sudden I'm feeling quite self-conscious. Like, even though I was genuinely, I've got the picture to prove it, so ripped, but I was so self-conscious. The confidence, as I said, at this period was at an all-time low. And a few drinks, and you're thinking, maybe after I've had a few drinks, I'll take my top off. Everyone in the room, I genuinely think, had their top off apart from me, because I just wasn't used to, you know, I had so much confidence and quite shy, I suppose. And my friend, Matty, was like, take your top off. No. And literally, it took him, when I wasn't looking, to rip my vest off. And I've got this black wig, and obviously tan, because I battered the sunbeds, right, to make sure that I looked even better. Like, of course, yeah. Battered my skin as well during my 20s. But ripped my top off, and it was in that moment, you were like, because the way he did it, my friend Matty's, you know, crazy, lives over here now, but he was wild when he was drinking. The whole room was looking at me the way he did it, you know, just, and it was sort of that moment, oh my God. And obviously I was absolutely levered at this point, but the way I sort of posed and stood back, it was sort of like, this is my moment. This is my moment. It sounds absolutely pathetic, but this was my moment. And it's weird, just, again, I'll get some context here in a second, but in the room, I didn't realise it at the time, but there was David Sheath and Peter Sheath, who'd been on for covers of Men's Health prior to me, and these were some of the guys, don't forget, that I'd seen them on covers, and oh God, they're all right body, but maybe I could do that as well. I remember one of the brothers, can't remember which, maybe David, comes up to me afterwards, and he said, there's a lot of people in this room who are in shape, but I've never seen anything like it. You know, he said, you're in some shape. And it sounds maybe quite sad. I don't know, it depends how you look at it. But at that time in your confidence is shot, and you remember seeing someone on a Men's Health Cup, like, it did boost your confidence up a little bit, and it just give you a little bit more, you know what? I'm good, and just because I'm from Coventry and I've had these knockbacks, maybe, you know, I can ride with these guys in terms of actually physical body and stuff. But I suppose party by party, as crazy as they were, some of the stupid shit I did, they definitely did help bring out more confidence to literally turn up in a party, take your top off, and it wasn't even. It sounds so pathetic, doesn't it? But like, it did definitely give you a layer of confidence that you didn't have. Party by party, for sure.
Like that sense of community and togetherness. And whilst it sounds comical,
Yeah.
we were all in this, like we were training for the same thing at the same time, and everyone was getting the outfits. There was such a community around it.
Yeah, and I definitely think, being even more brutally honest than that, confidence with girls. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not really. I'm not the guy that's going to go up to a girl too much. Do you know what I mean? But that environment, you just naturally engaged, conversation with more women and guys. It was just so, yeah.
Did Men's Health do that for you? Like, what was the uptake like after? Was that an easy card with the ladies? Like, look around, Ben.
Of course. I mean, listen. Does it help if you've been on the front cover of Men's Health? Look, it's status, whichever way you look at it. Like, status. Of course it did, but for a number of years, even after that Men's Health victory, Sarah, it didn't change how I actually felt from an internal confidence perspective in my relationships. I didn't have lots of relationships during that period, but the couple I had, because I hadn't worked on myself hard enough, the internal stuff, you get in a relationship where you are full of confidence, right? Yeah, the Men's Health coup might have helped attract that first, whatever, and how you looked. But then once you're, a few months into a relationship, that ship sails very, very quickly, and you're in the real depths.
You're in the realness of it.
Yeah, into real depths of relationships in life, and look, every relationship will test you at some point, and you will get faced with certain scenarios where you either have two choices. Yeah, face yourself, tell the truth, or shrink in confidence because you're trying to make a relationship work that doesn't. And I really believe if you're not truly happy with the relationship with yourself, to yourself, when no one else is around, no other relationship's going to last or work. And that's certainly what happened with me, Sarah. I mean, it's nothing against previous partners because it takes two to tango, but I stayed in a couple of relationships way longer than I should have because I wasn't brave enough to sort of accept, this doesn't work and we have totally different values, and that's okay. But the fear of losing a loss and losing again, and especially when you've had the football knockback where you've lost this thing that you really wanted so bad, that same feeling of pain, because I hadn't done the work after getting released by Coventry internally, by not doing that work, that showed up in relationships, irrelevant to the six-pack and the covers and stuff. So
let's move to the Coventry, right? So you were a footballer.
Yep.
And it was for a couple of decades nearly, wasn't it?
So I'd say from the moment I could talk, walk and kick a football, 4 or 5, Manchester United kit put on you, all I wanted to be was a professional footballer, and that was for Manchester United. That's all I cared about, literally. And I get picked up by Coventry at the age of 10. Very quickly become one of the better players in the team. 13, I had that moment where I have the opportunity to potentially become a Manchester United footballer. Picture the scene. I'm in my bedroom. We had bunk beds, me and my brother. Remember the bunk bed things, right? And I remember my dad waking me up, and he's writing on a piece of paper. He says, Manchester United scout, and he's a Manchester United fan, so my dad's really excited. And he tells me when he comes off the phone, like, the Manchester United want to sign you. You have to move up to Manchester. You sign schoolboy forms. Now, moving from Coventry to Manchester at the age of 13 was a big deal when you've never really left Coventry and you've come up from the council estate background, etc. So, simply put, I had two choices. You sign for Manchester United, which was the thing in my heart wanted to do. All I cared about, was Manchester United. I had every football kick. I could tell you every game, like, over and over again. That's the uncomfortable. That's the riskier option. No guarantee. Or so I thought. Or a safe option. Coventry found out Manchester United called me, and Gordon Strachan, very famous ex-footballer, turns up at the training ground. He says, "Kirk, you're not going anywhere. and offers me a professional contract. So at the age of 13, which was unheard of, I believe, at the time in the football club, I could have... I knew I was guaranteed footballer, basically, if I stayed with, if I chose to sign for Coventry City. And that's what I did. I chose the safe option, signed for Coventry, turned down Manchester United, that was the decision in my heart I really wanted to do. Fast forward 7 years later, I'm 20 years of age. I have to go up the stairs. It's called the Sky Blue Lodge. It was like where the first team manager was. And I'm sat down for, I'd say, less than 30 seconds, a minute tops. And I get told by Gary McAllister, you're not good enough. And unfortunately, you won't get another contract. So that was the most brutal lesson in life, that there is no such thing as a safe option. There's no such thing as a guarantee, because I chose the safe option of signing for Coventry, which were quite Manchester United. And I'm thinking at 13, well, if I sign for Coventry, they're not as good as Manchester United, so I'm going to be in the first team.
Yeah.
And I get released at the expense of pursuing Manchester United, which was in my heart what I wanted to do, but it was uncomfortable. The comfortable option at 13. So
do you regret that?
No, I don't, because I would not be the coach I am today, and I wouldn't have a burning desire, verging on obsession, to help people violate limiting beliefs. Because I believe the only thing that holds people back, if they have the resources, the skill set, and they have evidence in a certain area that if they follow certain behaviors and principles that they can achieve success, is people's belief. So many people are held back by their beliefs. And I believe if I hadn't gone through that pain of feeling what it's like to have a limiting belief, really feeling the damage of what a lack of confidence internally can do and how that can hold you back, then I don't believe I would be able to help clients overcome those challenges as articulate and as consistent.
Would you say that choosing it, would you say there's a time to choose a safe option? Would you say that it should all be risk takers? How important is that in entrepreneurship to step out and take the risk versus creating the environment of safety?
Great, amazing question. Again, I don't want to come across as some guru to say that, I'm not truly where I want to be in entrepreneurship yet. But I think a great question you can ask yourself, whether it's somewhat risk related or maybe a safer decision, is ask yourself the question, what would my best future self say, do, or choose in this situation? Because when you can fast forward decades, depending on how old you are, of your potential last day on this earth, sounds a bit heavy and deep, but I think it's important, and then look back on yourself without distraction and say, what would my 80, 90, 100-year self say to me right now in this given moment? And would I say now that I'm even more of a risk take? Absolutely. I've made some big, bold moves in business in the last couple of years, which scare me, no guarantee. And again, everyone's personal circumstances might dictate whether they're a risk taker or safe, and I don't want to force my way on anyone, but you're listening to somebody who knows what it's like to play safe, in my opinion, from the age of 13 to 26, when I won the men's health competition and was finally brave enough to quit my job and start a career. So I might have a biased decision of having spent 13 years where I played safe and it did me no fucking favors, right? I'm always going to err on the side of you roll the dice. Yeah. It's as simple as that. I love
what you said there about looking back. I think about my sister. So she passed away last year. She was 31. When I watched her, so she had cancer. She had a very short journey with cancer. It was about less than 10 months. But when you watch someone in their last, when they know, and you watch them in those last months, it's life.
Yeah.
Because she would literally be like, why do you give a shit about that? Forget that. Stop talking about that. Go and do it. Go and do it. Go and say yes. Yeah. Everything was say yes. Go do it.
Amazing.
When you watch them that's that close to the end, but you listen to the life that they have, isn't that lessons?
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting. How often do you think, why do you think people play safe? What do you think are our drivers to play safe psychologically?
I think so many different reasons that can affect someone playing safe. I think your parents can play a massive impact, can shape your model of the world and how you believe life should be. Certain things can happen during your childhood that can affect what you do and how you see the world. I think some people are primary needs that drive them are totally different. Like the 6 human needs, and I don't want to get too coachy on this, but I remember learning this from Tony Robbins' education, which I think is amazing. And it taught me more about myself and other people than anything. You got 6 needs. You got certainty, variety, love, connection, significance, growth, contribution. And I think some people, or Tony says, people generally have 2 primary needs that drive them. And they're going to be different for each person. They're not a value, they're not a belief. Like some people are more certainty driven, aren't they? They want to know what's going to happen after this, and that's okay. And then some people they're more variety driven and free spirit, right? And I've had to learn this stuff to be a coach, because everyone is totally different. Even your team and stuff like that. Some people are visual learners, some people are audio, some people are written, some people are analytical, some people are not. So I know I'm diversing here, but safety. If you feel like you're playing safe for too long, it's like, ask yourself, what opportunities am I missing out on as a result of playing safe? And if I keep doing the same as what I'm currently doing, how will my life look any different? Will my life be in a better place, the same place, or a worse place in a year's time? And how does that make me feel? I think the key is to ask yourself a really, really potent question like that. If you feel like you're playing safe for too long, if someone is very safety driven, very certainty driven, and you're happy with your core expectation of life, you're happy with your relationships, you're happy with your body, you're happy with your financials, your spiritual, all the different categories of life, and by playing safe, that's happening, then
stay there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But if you know, and this is where I positively challenge people who are playing safe for too long, if you know there is an area of life, whether it's business, body, health, relationships, friendships, all these different things, where you know in your heart you are capable of becoming more, or you want more, but playing safe is holding you back, then you've got to take action. Because I really believe that, if you play safe for too long and you know deep down you should be acting on that feeling of doing more, something will happen to bite you in the ass, to force you to do it.
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean? Force you to do it. And the reason I can speak with so much passion about this, Sarah, is I was lucky in a way that I had that second bite the cherry, with Men's Health. So you're talking to somebody who nearly fucked up an opportunity to totally
We're not taking that call back.
Yeah, exactly. And thankfully I got another chance, but don't wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because as you've just said, there's no guarantees of anything in life, right? You saw what's happening with your sister. Every few months, there's something happens with the law of averages of the clientele that I work with, or the people we know, the family and friends we have. Someone's going to die.
Yeah.
Someone's going to die. Someone's going to get ill. Something is going to go wrong.
It's going to be lost. It's going to be heartbreak.
Exactly. Right? That you never, ever expected to happen. That you never expected to happen. And you realise then, you've got one fucking life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't know the stats. I should have, remembered this. How many, even if you live to a 90 or 100, how many weeks you've actually got in this life. And this is where being around older clients is amazing.
Yeah.
Like some of my clientele, great human beings, where they are literally analysing how many summers they've got left, how many Christmases they've got left with loved ones, how many different times they can experience a certain experience. And I just think, unfortunately, just from my experience in being the coaching world, and that's where typically we do like to take on, someone late 30s, 40, a little bit older.
Yeah.
They're more aware of they're going to die.
Yeah.
And they're more aware of the people in their life that need them at their best and healthy, generally children. And unfortunately, in your 20s, think about when we were in our 20s.
Oh, my God.
If I was listening to this conversation, probably in my 20s, it would have gone in one ear, out the other. Do you know what I mean? In one ear, out the
I
other.
think you're invincible.
Yeah.
I did. Absolutely fearless to the max. Carefree, but careless. It was kind of dangerous, unnecessary.
Well, you do. Think about it. Like, I've been very transparent about taking drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never like hardcore. It's,
What is hardcore?
yeah.
What is
But still, come on, mate. You're putting something in your body that it's going to elevate your heart rate and do things like that. But you didn't give a shit back in the day. Even like the amount of vodka Red Bull I used to drink on a night out. It was, it's you're just less aware of the consequence if you don't change or play safe. And I think the earlier you can ask yourself that question, or even more frequently, you can ask yourself the question of, when you're faced with a decision, what are the consequences if I don't do this?
Yeah, what are the consequences?
And what are the benefits and the potential opportunities and deeper meaning if I do this? Weigh up the pros and the cons. And, sometimes you need to step forward. And I know there's some great quotes out there, but sometimes if you don't always get what you want, the outcome, what you want, whether it's in a relationship, a business, or even with a certain experience with, a coach and your PT, then at least you've learned. And as long as you're congruent with yourself, and I think it's where me and you are both so aligned, if you tell yourself the truth and you analyze and evaluate these situations wholeheartedly, then that's just going to point you in a different direction.
Or you're present to the truth. Yeah. Because you're in the moment of it. So like you said, I think you said back there you had to process what happened with Coventry way down the line.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, I don't know, putting words into your mouth here, correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't necessarily present to that whole experience. So you tried to use drugs and then you only have to deal with that later on. If you are in truth in your moment, in whatever truth that is, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you may have chosen in that moment, but you own that, then actually you create an environment of congruency, to use your language, in you, but you also change your environment around you because you will call that to come into congruent alignment with what you are saying is the truth. So that's how we actually shape an environment around us that becomes the system that we operate in, with the people and the experiences and the environment.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, at 20, and this is where I think the system in professional football hopefully has changed. Certainly, didn't help you. No one is steering you into personal development or helping you. Okay, what about purpose? What do you love doing? What do you think you'd be interested in now that football career's gone? You're not aware. But for me, one of the another great question you can ask yourself at any given moment in your life, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, why am I doing what I'm doing? Ask yourself why. Like, even with clientele who come to work with us, Sarah, I won't take on anyone into our Built to Last program if they can't articulate why they want to change. Because if someone doesn't have a core, deeper emotional reason behind any change or behind any goal, they won't follow through. They really won't. And you touched on their environment. I think one of the most simple things you can do, and it's why we pour so much money, time and investment into our community. And I know this is what I'm so empowered by what you do, with your team, and you're just a great cultivator of people. But I think one of the best things you could do if you're not happy with how you look, how you feel, or the way your life is going, is surround yourself within an environment where the identity of that environment, the lifestyle, the mentality, the mindsets, the energy is one that you actually want. And it is aspirational. Nothing influences your habits more than being in an environment where people have healthy habits. Nothing influences your positive energy more if you're around people who are more uplifting. You've got energy charges, you've got energy drainers. So I think asking yourself why you do what you do is so important. Having a peer group of people who can influence your behaviour and standards for the better is important. And like, I know you've touched on this on my podcast as well. It's like, does your current environment make you happy?
Yeah.
Does your current profession make you happy?
Yeah.
Does how you feel about your body when you look yourself in the mirror and you're getting changed to put clothes on, or you put a pair of swim shorts on or bathing suit on a beach, do you feel happy?
And I'd even go as far as to say, for me, it's just a challenging, because happiness and challenge is sometimes very different. Like, it's what is your driver for what you want your community to do. I don't want to just have yes people around me.
No.
As I'm sure you don't either. You want that stretch. That's why you surrounded yourself where you are. But talking about environment, so you've made a move that I'm now in the process of exploring, which is Dubai, right? You live here. You're based here. We're obviously in Dubai right now. Why? How? And what has that environment done for you? If we say the pros and the cons.
Yeah, there is pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know, anyone who says different is full of shit. Like, there's pros and cons to everywhere you live, and even everything you do, right? There's always a trade-off, even with entrepreneurship. Like, it's not all rosy. But yeah, if you'd have said to me a few years ago, would I have relocated my life and business to Dubai, I would have laughed at you. I remember coming to Dubai about 7 or 8 years ago with a previous partner, and it was a lot different to how it is now. I didn't like it. I thought it was too strict. I didn't like, in my opinion, the way I remember being in a restaurant and the way men looked at women. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I know you're always going to get that to some degree everywhere, even in London, bars, clubs, all this stuff. But so it changed my whole. I wasn't a Dubai lover, if I'm honest, or UAE in general. But I was very judgmental because I only had a few days to experience that. But during the pandemic, again, I'll just tell the truth. The UK was a shit show, and everyone, I think, struggled, including myself, with the lockdown. And struggled with the lockdown, and we saw a little bit of an opening, me and Gabby, to come to Dubai for a week's holiday, because Dubai was allowing visitors, and we were literally so paranoid about getting on the plane to come to Dubai. But we made it, and that turned into 4 months, and within a few weeks, I thought, God, this has changed immensely.
So you came for a week and stayed for 4 months?
Yeah, because Boris kept us in lockdown, and I went in a rush. And if I'm really honest as well, Sarah, it was the first test of, can my online business survive without me having to be in a fixed destination? And it did, absolutely. And I felt at home. I felt that I love the growth mindset over here. I'm not saying it doesn't have it in London and places like that. Of course you do, but I just like the energy, the speed, the service, the go-getter, and even from a business perspective, like the added bonus, of course, is I've got an online business, and that business being 6-7 hours, the same business. Of course, there are tax benefits, but I'd never move anywhere just for tax benefits. I wouldn't do that, because Dubai is pretty good at helping you spend money as well. So how does a culture like this, though, because you said some good things there, how I don't know if it's done this for you, but how could the Dubai environment impact someone, maybe, let's call it negatively, from what you see? Yeah, well, it could create that imposter syndrome again, because there's always someone with a lot more money than you. I think generally, not just Dubai, but London as well, major cities, they can gobble you up if you're not, if you're not sharp, you're not on the front foot. If someone hasn't done their research, then it could, you could have some nasty surprises in store. If people haven't done their research on, what their living budget is, and I found this just with major cities in general. A lot of people talk shit, so don't listen. I found this in New York. I found it in London. In New York, whenever I've been there. London, of course, when I lived there. And in Dubai, cons. I think as it stands right now, again, I'm no guru with this, but just through friends who are a bit more switched on with this, certain rules and regulations, you have to do your homework. And give you an example of that. I nearly signed for an apartment when I first moved, literally across the road from me. And the paperwork, thankfully, I had my friend to look at, who's got his own property business now. He looked at the paperwork, and the passport of the owner and the person I was signing the form, it didn't quite add up. So apparently I could have been screwed over for thousands and thousands of pounds. So you do need to be sharp on that. Absolutely. So Dubai's a great place. The UAE, I think, is on the front foot. It's very inspirational, aspirational, but there's pros and cons to every place. And I think if anyone was ever thinking of moving their business or life to here, at least come here for a few months first to experience day-to-day life. Because I think whether it's London, whether it's Dubai, New York, wherever, when you go somewhere for a week, you're in holiday mode.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to see all the touristy bits. But when you're actually living somewhere, it has to feel content, because just coming back to environment again, that's going to be the place. It's going to influence your vision, your energy, your relationships, of course, your professional relationships, new friendships, all these types of things. So, but I suppose just to conclude, like, on, maybe my philosophy on life a little bit now, obviously that's what me and Gabby spoke about too. Do we think that Dubai be a forever home? Probably not.
Yeah.
But we had to be brave with certain decisions and not live with what if, and it just makes sense now. And I suppose that's what's hopefully wrapped a little bit today is, don't look with what if.
Yeah.
But if you'd have said to me during those 20s, when I'm in Coventry, when you've got that scarcity mindset, what might go wrong? It might go wrong.
Yeah.
What if? Don't look back with what if. And I think if I hadn't made this move, I'd always be thinking what if. And I just do not want to live my life that way. And now my absolute passion and mission is to make sure that anyone I love, care for, connected to, coach, or simply have the ability to influence on any medium, as a client, on a podcast, or speaking on stage, it's to spread the message of you are capable of more than you think. Don't let old beliefs control, what you know in your heart you want to do. And don't look back with regret, because I think you can have as much money as you want. You can have as much front end status as you want. You can have the abs, right?
That you want.
Right? You can have the abs, right? When you're bullshitting yourself about how happy you actually are. And you can't take your abs with you. You can't take your money with you. You can't take your assets with you. So I know there's some amazing entrepreneurs, your Alex Hormozes and stuff that I love his messaging at the minute. What you're doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and how happy, give or take, you are in your relationships, what you're doing with your profession, and how you feel about your body when no one else is around, and also the conversation to yourself. That's a true metric of how content you really are. Yeah, that's success, really. It's like, how are you meeting right now? Ask yourself this question: in relation to my core expectation of my life right now, is my current living conditions aligned to that? If the answer is no, what do you need to change? Do you need to change your expectations, or do you need to change what you do, how you live, or the environments that you're currently in?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'll experience emotional friction.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Kirk. Today has been absolutely delightful. What an amazing episode, amazing story. Thank you for your realness and your
brutally honest
honesty. I love this one. And how can the listeners connect with you, Kirk?
No, first of all, thank you so much, Sarah. It's weird how the universe again reconnects. No, it's great to see. Honestly, amazing. I love your energy, and I think you do amazing things. I really do. So it's a pleasure to have me on your podcast. For anyone who wants to check out any of my content, my stuff, it's Kirk Miller, annoyingly _. Sorry, this is actually quite funny. I'll wrap this up right. So this will show you now. Anyone who's still probably thinking this guy's full of shit and all he cares about is six-pack. My old, I can't believe I've only just remembered this. No, but I've only just remembered this. My old Instagram handle and Twitter handle was Kirk Abs Miller. Honestly, Kirk Abs Miller. I swear to God, right? So I think if there's anyone who doubted or is maybe female, this guy's still being judgmental if you're not in shape.
Remember that.
It's nonsense. I changed my Instagram. I put Kirk Abs Miller because that was all my identity was probably attached to at that point. But no, it's Kirk Miller. So got me on podcast too, and so much free value that I give out. Yes, of course we have a great business and service and stuff, but if you're an entrepreneur, business owner looking to get and stay in shape, manage your health and lifestyle forever, that's what we do. But equally, if you're not, then there's so much free value, just like Sarah's doing with her channel, that I want to pass on and hopefully make a difference. So
thank you so much, Kirk.
Thank you.